Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a team that has given its fans pretty much everything you can imagine. Championship parades, sure, but also seasons they probably want to scrub from their memory. This is the wild story of the Dallas Mavericks, a franchise really defined by both heartbreak and glory.
So let's get right into it. We are charting the completely unpredictable and honestly totally captivating history of the Dallas Mavericks. It is a journey packed with incredible highs, some absolutely gut-wrenching lows, and moments that are just etched into NBA history. So how does a team go from a serious contender to the worst in the league, not once, but twice? Well, let's find out.
All right, let's set the scene. Our story kicks off way back in 1980. The NBA was really starting to take off, and a brand new team was born right in the heart of Texas.
And you know, they really didn't waste any time. As a brand new expansion team, you'd expect them to struggle for a bit. But nope, the Mavericks just exploded onto the scene in the 80s. They were fueled by stars like Mark Aguirre and Rolando Blackman, and they went from being the new kids on the block to a legitimate powerhouse in just a few years. By the late 80s, they were so popular, they were actually overshadowing the Dallas Cowboys. Think about that. And they went all the way to a legendary 7-game series against the Showtime Lakers. Talk about an entrance.
The foundation was set, the future looked incredibly bright. But, as this team would learn again and again, nothing is ever that simple in Dallas. A whole decade of success was about to come to a screeching, catastrophic halt.
So, what happened? How did it all fall apart so fast? Well, the 1990s were just a brutal decade for the Mavericks. Key players were traded, injuries started piling up, and the whole team just spiraled into a decade of pure chaos.
In the 1992-93 season, the Mavs finished with a staggering 11 wins and 71 losses. Now, to put that in perspective, at the time, that was the second worst record in the entire history of the NBA. They had gone from the very brink of the finals to the absolute bottom of the league.
And just when you think, okay, it can't possibly get any worse than that, it did. The very next year, they followed it up with this record. We're talking 2 straight seasons of historically bad basketball. It was a complete and total franchise collapse.
So what went wrong? I mean, they tried to rebuild. They put together this trio of high draft picks they called the 3 Js, Jason Kidd, Jamal Mashburn, and Jim Jackson. This was supposed to be the future, right? But it was just doomed from the start. You had off-court issues, including a lifelong ban for the super talented but troubled Roy Tarpley, and then just constant infighting between the young stars. The whole experiment fell apart before it even really began. A classic case of what could have been.
But, out of the ashes of the 90s, a revolution was brewing. 2 huge arrivals right at the turn of the millennium would not only save the franchise, but launch it to heights it had never, ever seen before. A new day was coming to Dallas.
First up, a new owner. The tech billionaire Mark Cuban bought the team and immediately injected this shot of adrenaline and a lot of money and a real fan-first attitude. And then a new home, the brand new state-of-the-art American Airlines Center. All of a sudden, the Mavericks were the hottest ticket in town again. A new era had officially dawned.
And what was happening on the court was just as revolutionary. The Mavericks built this incredible international Big Three with Dirk Nowitzki from Germany, Steve Nash from Canada, and the American veteran Michael Finley. This trio was so dynamic, so fun to watch, and they ended an 11-year playoff drought. Just like that, Dallas was a must-watch offensive juggernaut.
So the Mavericks were contenders again. But as you're starting to see, with this team, getting to the top of the mountain meant going through some of the most painful chapters in their history. The glory was coming, but man, the heartbreak came first.
Okay, so in 2006, they make their first ever NBA Finals. They go up 2-0. They're leading by 13 points with just over 6 minutes left in Game 3. I mean, they are on the verge of taking a 3-0 lead, which is basically insurmountable. And then, it all just unraveled. They lost that game, and then they lost the next 3 after that. They lost the championship in a stunning, totally soul-crushing collapse.
And just to give you an idea of how close they were, the parade route was literally being planned in Dallas. In everyone's mind, it was a done deal. And that, of course, just made the defeat that much more devastating.
So how do you possibly respond to a loss like that? Well, you come back the very next season and have the best record in the entire league, winning 67 games. Dirk Nowitzki is named the league MVP, you're the #1 seed, you are supposed to be the best of the best, and you get eliminated in the very first round by the 8th seed. It's still considered one of the biggest upsets in sports history. So that's 2 years, 2 completely different yet equally painful playoff disasters. If you were a Mavericks fan, you had to be thinking the team was cursed.
But hey, this is the Mavericks, and the story is never ever simple. After all that pain, redemption was finally just around the corner. But even that would be followed by a rebuild that set the stage for another shocking turn of events.
In 2011, it finally happened. Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks reached the mountaintop. They won their first and only championship in an absolutely legendary playoff run. And then, when Dirk finally retired, the team didn't even miss a beat. They drafted the Slovenian phenom, Luka Dončić. And just a few years later, in 2024, they were right back in the NBA Finals. It was a seemingly perfect transition from one legend to the next.
But then, in a twist that is so quintessentially Mavericks, our source material reports a shocking development. In February 2025, just months after he led them back to the finals, the team trades its superstar, Luka Dončić, to the Los Angeles Lakers. It seems the cycle of unpredictability, of heartbreak and glory, it just has to continue.
Look, this franchise has always been a roller coaster, from the incredible highs of the 80s to the crushing lows of the 90s, from the heartbreak of the 2000s to the ultimate glory of 2011, and now the shocking moves of today. The only thing that seems certain for the Dallas Mavericks is that the next dramatic chapter is always right around the corner. The only question is, will it be another heartbreak or another taste of glory?